Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Well, maybe there is a little bit of justice in the heavyweight boxing sphere, with the WBO coming to the aid of its interim champion Jospeh Parker and ordering a fight be made between him and the WBO champion Oleksandr Usyk. And you can see here, so what we'll do is we'll go through this and then a few thoughts, because obviously with Jospeh Parker having been due to have a heavyweight title shot against Daniel Dubois, and Dubois pulling out within a day or two of that fight, it looked like Parker might get bypassed as Dubois looked to go straight into a fight with Usyk. And that's something that has been spoken about openly, that they were looking to make that fight. And it sounded suspicious, and people were saying, including myself, is there no justice for Jospeh Parker here, because he deserves a title shot? And the WBO actually doing what a sanctioning body should, having a mandatory and deciding to call it. So, and this is a good fight as well. I think for many, because Jospeh Parker and the run that he's been on, he is more than a worthy challenger for Usyk, who holds 3 of the 4 belts and was not so long ago undisputed, dropping the IBF after he won it. And that also did ensure in the rematch between Fury and Usyk that Fury, if he won, wouldn't be undisputed. I think people forget that. But you can see here, negotiations, WBO mandatory heavyweight championship contest, Oleksandr Usyk versus Jospeh Parker. And this is a letter that is from Luis Baptista Salas Esquire. So what we have here, please be advised that the WBO World Championship Committee is hereby ordering the commencement of negotiations between the subject matter's fighters to discharge the WBO mandatory championship obligation in the heavyweight division. By virtue of this order, the WBO interim championship shall be terminated expeditiously in compliance with our institutional policy of only one world champion per weight class. The parties have 30 days to reach terms. Failure to do so will result in this committee ordering pursued proceedings in accordance with the WBO regulations of World Championship contests. Lastly, the WBO reserves its right to issue any and all further rulings deemed necessary, helpful, and convenient to accomplish the purposes, policies, and intent of the WBO rules, including but not limited to serving those interests that best boxing and the heavyweight division. Do not hesitate to contact the WBO main offices if you have any questions or concerns. Remembering as well, Frank Warren currently promotes Jospeh Parker. Frank Warren currently promotes Daniel Dubois. Frank Warren wanted to make Dubois and Usyk, presumably for a big Riyadh season card. And Frank Warren has a very close relationship with the WBO. But I imagine that Jospeh Parker and his management, David Higgins and others, as at Gold Star Promotions, I imagine they also have been lobbying the WBO and saying, look, Parker deserves his shot. The mandatory for the WBO hasn't been held for some time. Usyk has literally just come off this undisputed run where you gave him leeway to have certain fights, etc. The rematch with Joshua, the rematch with Fury, it's time to call your mandatory. And they have now. And that's just speculation that there has been lobbying, but I imagine it is the case. And Warren, though, with his close relationship with the WBO, I imagine he might be trying to sort of seek some sort of either step aside for Parker or potentially some other sort of intervention that can make sure his man Dubois fights against Oleksandr Usyk. But the thing is, maybe he will have very little success because the WBO has ordered this, and let's face it, if they go to a purse bid or if Usyk doesn't want to make the fight with Parker, they may strip Usyk of the belt. And I'm sure Parker and his people that are advocating on his behalf will want that they'll want this title vacant and potentially fought for by Jospeh Parker and whoever the next best challenger is. At the moment, I think it's Justis Huni. I will do a rankings wrap-up video because Huni has risen. You've got Lawrence Okoli in the WBC. Some interesting movement lately. But you have Jospeh Parker acknowledging this on his social media, and he's reposted on his Instagram story about time as well. Give Jospeh Parker his shot, and that's from Tyson Fury. So Parker has reposted a few different things. You've got Adam Catterall here saying that he deserves his shot, yada, yada, yada. But Jospeh Parker, it's hard to argue against him getting a title shot, and it looked like he might be on the wrong end of things, but there seems to be just a little bit of justice in the world here. Or at least, I mean, it's hard to say in boxing generally because there's so much shadiness going on and things can turn, pretty quickly against the fighter. But this was, I guess, to some extent, for most boxing fans, given what's happened, maybe slightly unexpected, that it seemed the Dubois-Usyk fight, which had obviously been talked about at length by a lot of fans, including, obviously, it's something that Frank Warren's been looking to make, and then all of a sudden this order comes out. So I'm happy to see it. I think Joseph Parker, he deserves his shot, and the WBO has sent a sort of a shot across Usyk's bow to say, look, you have to take this fight. You have to negotiate the mandatory, either come to an agreement or go into a purse bid. And you'd have to imagine that if this does go to a purse bid, that it would end up on Riyadh's season, but you never know. So I guess we'll have to see what happens next, but it does seem that for all those who were hoping that there would be a little bit of justice for the Joseph Parker situation, getting screwed out of a title shot, there is seemingly the WBO on his behalf has extended or opened the door to this fight getting made with Usyk and sort of turning things on its head. Daniel Dubois, who knows what will happen with him and Frank Warren. Maybe Frank Warren will ultimately get behind this. I think what you could end up saying is Usyk fights Parker, for example, for this belt, and then he potentially fights Dubois for undisputed. All that could potentially happen this year if you had one fight mid-year and the other fight at the end of the year. Who would be fighting off for undisputed? Well, we'll have to see. This is why we have the fights. But what do you make of the situation and the order? Do you feel a sense of justice and maybe that the WBO has actually done the right thing here? A sanctioning body doing that doesn't seem, obviously something that we're too familiar with. But drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.